So, what is an adoptive home study anyway? So, we're going to talk about that today on All About Adoption. Hi, I'm Stephanie A., and I am the founder and executive director of Adoption and Beyond, where I help families bring home the child of their dreams. So let's dive into this mysterious adoptive home study. What is entailed? What do you need to do? How do you survive the process? So something I tell families is that the home study process is intrusive. There, I said it. Drop the mic. The home study process is intrusive. So just get over yourself. Everyone has to go through it. There's nothing unique, nothing different about you and your family. It's just something that is required. So let's dive into the different aspects of the home study process. So as I said, the home study is something that is required when you're wanting to adopt a child. Even grandparents who are adopting their children commonly have to go through the home study process as well. So it's a required, and it's recognized by the courts as the gold standard for being able to approve a family to be able to adopt a child. So really, the home study is just, I commonly say, it's a hoop that every family has to jump through. And so there are lots of personal questions that are asked about your family, your finances, and your background. And so we're going to dive into a little bit of that here in just a moment. But the home study process is learning about who you are as a family. Commonly, people think it's just about the home. And that's not correct. The name can be very misleading. It really is about you as a family. We go digging into your childhood, how you were raised, and your marriage, and if you're parenting children, your parenting, and how you plan on parenting your future child. If you've come to this through infertility, we want to learn more about how you've grieved your infertility and how you're ready to move on to adoption and embrace an adopted child. And so those are some of the broader categories that are talked about during the home study process. So just know that the home study process is really not about the home and the home environment in terms of the physical place of the home, but it really is more to do with you as a family and your home environment in terms of who you are as future parents. So some of the topics that are talked about is your motivation for adoption. Why are you wanting to adopt? What brought you to adoption? Is it because you feel led to adopt, or is it because you feel that infertility has brought you here? So what are your motivations and what has brought you to adoption? Another topic is talked about is, particularly with domestic adoption, is openness, and how you feel about having openness in adoption and what that looks like to you, and having future contact with the birth family. Also, what are your feelings about birth families? Just tell us what you think about the birth family and their decision to place their child for adoption. They'll talk about your marriage and how you met your spouse, and if you're married, and how you guys communicate with each other in your marriage. How do you handle household chores and finances? How are things divided up between your family? How do you communicate with each other? And so we just really dive into the stability of the marriage as well. References are gathered, and we talk about the references. Usually it's personal references, parent references. You'll also get references for your children, and also employment verifications as well. So there'll be other people who will also be telling us about you as a family, looking from the outside in. What are your parenting philosophies, and how do you plan on disciplining your child? And just talking about the importance of those things when it comes to a future child. And then if you're parenting, how are you doing those things now, today, with your current children? What are your childcare plans for this child? Particularly if they're younger, what daycare are you planning on doing? Daycare? Are you planning on staying home? Are you planning on using a nanny? Family members? What do you plan on doing for childcare? Also, just learning a bit more about your physical and mental health as well. So you will have a physical that's done as part of this process to show that you have a normal life expectancy. And if there are any mental health issues, such as anxiety or bipolar or depression or whatever, how are you managing those conditions? Are you taking medications? Are there things that you do to help you manage those, such as getting, extra sleep or exercising, and just helping you you manage the mental health and physical aspects of your life as well. Here's a big one, finances. How secure is your family financially? And this is where some of the intrusive stuff gets in, is having to share your financial information. But we just want to be able to show the courts that your family is financially stable and able to afford the adoption process and able to afford to raise the child once you bring them home. So some of the bigger steps that you'll do as part of the home study process is, for us, our families complete autobiographies. We give you an outline and give you a list of questions that we want you to answer, and then you'll go through and just basically share your autobiographies with us, and that is actually incorporated and made part of the home study process. As you heard me talk about earlier, you also will have health forms done by your physician, and that's integrated into your report to show that you have a normal life expectancy. You'll be verifying your income as part of your financials and just, sharing your W-2s and your 1040s just to verify the employment, if you're employed, the employment that you have. And then also you'll be completing background checks that include state checks and FBI checks and also child abuse checks. And then we as an agency also have our families complete sex offender registry checks, which is more of a national look at and make sure that you don't have something in some other state with regards to the sex offender registry. You'll also be doing interviews as part of the home study process, and in-home visit. The caseworker will come into your home. And if you have children, we'll also meet and talk with them as well as part of this process. So the home study process, so what happens next is the home study is typed up, and it typically we have our families proofread the home study to make sure all the information is correct in the report. So just know that each home study process with each provider is very different from each other. You'll probably find no two are the same. And so you may find that you will do hours of interviewing with one agency, but you don't with another. You may find there are multiple home visits with one agency and there's not with another. So the process is different from agency to agency, but the paperwork gathered is the same because it's state required. And so the paperwork gathered you'll find to be pretty consistently the same. And then also how long it takes to complete the home study and get the home study back in your hands so you're ready to adopt can vary from agency to agency. And so just be sure you ask those questions when trying to explore who you're going to use for your home study process. So if you like the information that you've received today, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button. We have adoption advice that I give once a week to families looking at adoption. And if you are looking at starting the adoption process, just know you got to start somewhere.